Welcome to episode 16 of the Mouthwash Talk Show, and our future is so bright. Yes, I have to wear shades. Welcome to the show tonight. We have what I'm got fired up about. I was not a big fan of the crypto, but I'm warming up to it. We got great peeps on the streets, some conspiracy theories. We actually have 5 minutes with a liberal tonight. It's sort of going to be a little bit of a feature here we're going to try to do and see if we can't get some more liberal participation, some more left participation in the show. So we have so much to get to. I'm going to get right to it. So, and by the way, we do have a sponsor. Since it is Indy 500 week, we thought, well, why not have a sponsor that's related to For the Love of Speedway? So I'm going to roll this commercial, and then we're going to come on with our first guest, Kevin Young. Lifelong friend of mine, a really good guy, and we're going to talk about this liberal issue that we seem to have on the show here about keeping it fair and balanced. So let's enjoy this commercial, and we'll be right back with Kevin.
Hi, Lisa here with For the Love of Speedway. And who doesn't love the month of May in Indiana? Well, I know hundreds of people who do. About 10 years ago, I started making flag sets, started with the one on my own home and then made some for neighbors, and it's turned into hundreds flying across Speedway, the state of Indiana, and even across the country. But now we've grown the brand from flags into some home decor items. We have garland, wreaths, we have these lovely aprons, grill mitts, and even some items for your furry friends. Bow ties, hankies, collars, and leashes, all kinds of fun stuff. So if you are all about For the Love of Speedway, come check us out Thursday, 4 to 7 at the Market on Main, which is the Speedway Farmers Market, close to Charlie Brown's. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the Speedway Arts Council pop-up shop in the Wilcox building at the corner of 16th and Main. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'll be at both places, Thursday through race day. Come see me. Come buy some fun For the Love of Speedway gear and get yourself decked out. After all, it is For the Love of Speedway.
Wow, that was a great commercial. Don't think we're getting any revenue from that. That's sort of just a free promotion, selfless promotion of my wife and her For the Love of Speedway. But if you see race flags around Speedway or anywhere else, she's likely to be the one that made those and dog collars and whatnot. So I want to welcome my good friend Kevin, and he's been brave enough to come on to talk about maybe why we're having some trouble with some liberals here. So, hey, Kevin, tell us a little bit about yourself and, maybe about some of these left-leaning situations you have, and then we're going to get right to the panel. I'm going to have them come on, and we're going to ask a few questions, see if you can survive.
Right. Great to be here, John. Taking my mask off because I sure don't want to be sent to no gas chambers, and I understand that's where that can lead to. So I'm protecting myself. I heard that from a very, very, probably one of the smartest congresswomen. I heard it from her, so I'm playing it safe.
Come out swinging.
Actually, well, I guess I am a liberal. I'm a kind of middle of the road person, but let me tell you kind of one of my experiences. I went to a small college in Illinois, Eureka College. Had 50 people in my graduating class. Our most famous graduate from 1942 was John?
Jim Jones.
Ronald Reagan.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I was there when he was president, so it was kind of a big thing. But small college, to graduate, you had to take a class your last year called Senior Studies. So the 50 seniors, we had 2 classes, and all we did for the whole semester is we read symposium articles, and we had to answer 2 questions and write a 26-page paper. And we had to answer the question, what is the nature of man, right? Good, bad, evil, compassionate, caring. And then based on your answer to that, what is the purpose of government? And we had to read the nature of man. We had to read Tyranny and Freedom. And we had to come up with that, and that's kind of what drove me into a lot of my thinking. And one of the concerns I have and I've seen a few of the Mouthwash shows, not that many of them, is I wonder how open-minded both sides are. And for me, as a liberal, what being a liberal means is I'm going to really listen whatever the issue is, wherever the topic is, I'm going to really listen to both sides. I'm going to want to know where they're coming from with their facts or their science, their data, what's supporting that. I want to be a part of that discussion and digging, how can you say that, or where does that come from, or what about this? And I want to be open to, changing my mind.
Yeah, and you mentioned something there about facts. Now, I don't want to discuss facts and citing work and all that, but do you find that most people go look for facts that suit their opinion instead of to maybe refute what they're thinking? Do you think a lot of people are more apt to look for something to support their thinking and more gullible to believing that?
I do think that, and not just that, but they don't question that. If someone's a big whoever, Ted Cruz believer, and Ted says something, they don't question that. And I think that's one of the issues is, and with today's media, you're either a Fox person or you're seeing it. Very few people, in my experience.
I'm a mouthwash people. That's what I am. That's
very few people really. I mean, every day I have an interesting job where I'm on a call center, but I have lots of time between calls. I watch and read news all day long at my job, unfortunately, and between CNN, Fox, One America, and then the other Max, whatever that is, and NPR. I mean, I watch them all, and I think that's one of the issues. One of the things I would challenge people who I consider myself on the left, and yet I get attacked by people on the left because I sometimes question things that they think or believe, right? Let me give you a good example. In 2016, I'm a Bernie Sanders fan, and I was in a Facebook group with Bernie Sanders, and someone posted Rand Paul had questioned why schools get free lunches for everybody. There used to be a government policy, I don't know if it still is, but if over 50% of the students in a school qualified for free lunches, then everybody got it, and you didn't have to prove that financially you needed it, right? And Rand Paul was saying, no, wait a minute, that shouldn't be. If you don't qualify, you shouldn't get it. And all these people on Bernie's page were just attacking him. I said, wait a minute, that's common sense to me. If you make too much to afford free lunch, you shouldn't get it. It should be for those people, and they just ripped me to shreds. But one point I'm going to make is I actually changed my mind. Seeing that article, that interview with Rand Paul, I realized, no, that what he's saying makes sense. We shouldn't have this blanket statement. I wonder how often people, or even for you, John, when's the last time in a debate or whatever the subject was or discussion, you actually changed your mind because someone on the other side shared information or facts or knowledge that you took in and said, hey, even though I've thought this way, you know what, that makes sense. And even though I've had this belief that I've held, you know what, I can let that go.
I would say I've done that more, and later, homelessness would be a perfect example. I was one that would say, hey, get a job, and that's just totally, once I actually serve and go out and do this every week, it's you become more familiar with what the reality is of things. So yeah, I hear you. And it just seems like I was talking to somebody today that people are so concreted in their position, they don't look to get anything different. They look to how they can get to the store and get more concrete. Yeah. So Kevin, that's great. Speaking of jobs, we have a panel that I want to get on here. And so we're going to put you on the hot seat and bring them on. So let's see what that looks like. Let's go with Ed and Lucy. And that's not the right picture. You go there. Look, I sort of got this a little bit right. Okay, so we're going to start out with Ed tonight because Ed missed the show last week because he got a brand new company truck, and on his way home, somebody ran into the back end of it. And I'm like, and Ed is usually a guy that's right on time and all that, and he would have had a problem. So, and then we have Lucy. She's a libertarian. She's actually the chairwoman of the Indiana Libertarian Party. And then we have Jacob, who lives up near Chicago. He is our Gen Z conservative voice. So we're going to start with Ed. We're going to start with a friendly face. And Ed, you have a question for Kevin about maybe how we're having some issues with getting more folks like yourselves on the show.
Absolutely. My big thing is, and I've said this for a while, like the Berkeley did a study a few years back, and it really broke down Republicans and Democrats along, what type of backgrounds they have as far as degrees go. And you had on the Republican side, you're far more likely to have, a degree in like economics or business, some type of marketing degree. And on the liberal side, you're far more to be into some type of science research and so my experience is that just having that marketing side and having that kind of predisposition already, that the Republicans tend to do messaging a heck of a lot better, whereas Democrats tend to not be so out there unless you're an actual politician that's elected. And so do you think, I mean, is that, would you agree or disagree with that, Kevin? Or
No, I think that makes sense, and I do think for liberals too, part of that whole marketing is, and the current Democratic Party has been accused of it. They really don't have their points. That this is what we really stand for, and so I think the average Democrat, the average liberal, doesn't speak up because they're not sure exactly where they're supposed to stand on things.
All right, and I would totally agree with that. This has been a very interesting experiment getting the right, left, center, and I would say after having Ed on the show, he is more centrist than probably, is what I would not call liberal, but he has some different perspectives on things, and we love him dearly. So, and we're going to go to Lucy next. And by the way, Ed has a new green screen, if you didn't notice. And I like how he put the bricks back there because I'm a bricklayer. I think he's trying to win favor. So, Lucy, go ahead, ask a question of Kevin. Now, I'm going to warn you, Kevin, she's got a pretty face, but she will tear you up. And her husband, he'll be commenting in the comments, and I'm going to put a couple posts up. So here we go.
That is too funny. Kevin, it's delightful to meet you. I actually have an undergraduate degree in the liberal arts, the freeing arts. And one thing I appreciated about my liberal arts education was the fact that it made me into a very well-rounded human being. Now, because I've been a libertarian my whole life, of course, I saw the brainwashing and indoctrination that comes along with the left. But I tend to be a pretty left libertarian. So if I haven't pissed off the Republicans and accused of being, a liberal, and pissed off the liberals and accused of being a Republican, it's just not a good day. So my question for you is, when you think about, where our society is headed and where it's going, where do you take personal responsibility with your political views to make a difference, both for your individual prosperity and for prosperity for all?
So for me, I tend to look at the prosperity for all and the bigger picture. And I think that's probably one of the issues in our country is people are looking out more for themselves, and it's almost that kind of that NIMBY, not in my backyard, things like that, and not willing to realize that's part of what made America great and makes us great is we looked at the collective, we looked at the big picture. Think about any of the social programs that the left and the right argue about today. Those didn't just come about in a vacuum. There was a reason, there was a need. I worked at Work One for 2.5 years. I worked on a special program called TAA, Trade Adjustment Assistance. If you all remember when Carrier they were going to lay those people off and send those jobs. Well, that's what we do. We work with those people. TAA, Trade Adjustment Assistance, it's been around since, I think, the 60s. A great program in a way. It's been $780 million a year. But there's a lot that's wrong with it as well. And I think people there are a lot of people who look at that program and they look at the big picture, let me back up. They look at the individual picture, but they don't look at the big picture. That, for example, there's a lot of wasted money in TAA but everyone wants, on the liberal side, wants to say, well, we're helping people. Well, yeah, but there's people up there that probably don't need that help, and we're spending $780 some million. And I've worked it for 2 years with those people from Rexnord and Carrier. That money, half that money was wasted. And so I think sometimes you have to look at the bigger picture, just not what's for me, but how is it affecting everybody else and the people around us.
I think that's a great thing to look at. I like to look at where do incentives drive human behavior. For example, with taxes, you mentioned that half of that was wasted. So if we just call it, $2 billion and $1 billion was wasted, that means that the lives of $1 billion worth of economic power of individuals like me going to work every day, making 20 or 30 bucks an hour, and then of course having a third of that stripped away by the government to become part of that $1 billion program. Can we really say that we're an enlightened society if we agree that it's okay to steal from a certain group of people for the benefit of another?
Oh, that word steal.
Well, what would you call it when things are taken from you by coercion without your permission and without your agreement?
Again,
it's theft. Taxation is theft. Right. Hashtag taxation is theft.
But those are programs that we all agree are good. Now,
no, we don't all agree.
Is there waste in it? Is there waste in it?
We don't all agree that they're good. If you're stealing from one person for the benefit of the other, you are agreeing that it's okay to take a gun and put it up to somebody's head, or the threat or coercion of a gun, and take their money, which is their labor and their life.
So in order for me to go to work, so all taxes is stealing?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Unless I agree to that, yes, it is stealing. It is coercion. Is all sex rape? No. What's the difference? Consent. Are all taxes theft? No. What's the difference? Consent. You're just using the government's gun to do it because you're kindler and gentler. And I didn't mean to attack you on this, but this is something I'm really passionate about, because in order for me to contribute to that $1 billion, those tax dollars are stolen from me, which means my life was stolen from me. I had to get up and go to work and go away from my beautiful children. And I have 10 of them. They need my time. But if a third of my production is stolen from me, a third of my life is stolen from me because people like you think that it's good.
Lucy, let's be honest. Nobody pays a third in taxes. When you look at your effective tax rate,
and
nobody pays
inflation? A third. What about the hidden tax inflation?
Nobody pays a third. But if you want to go, that's fine. But those,
when I spend $1 in gas, $1 in gas is 30%. They are stolen from me because it's coercion. I would not voluntarily give up my life and my liberty and my labor for a group of people to do something with it that I don't agree with. Like, I'm very anti-war. I cannot believe that taxes are stolen from me in order to bomb wedding parties. Let's beat up on the Republicans together. Although now it's the Democrats bombing, so it must be okay.
Lucy, that language right there, that's stealing. That's where sides aren't going to come together. If you're that adamant that any taxation is stealing.
Yes, it is. It's all theft. If I don't pay my taxes, eventually somebody with a gun comes and puts it in my face to tell me that I'm either giving up the money or I'm going. IRS agents carry guns. So the absolute end of that threat, Lucy, you try and make it kindler and gentler. You try and make it act like it's a good idea.
I'm going to have to stop. I'm going to have to stop you on this one because it's supposed to be only 5 minutes and we still have Jacob. So see, Kevin, you got Lisi going. I try to warn you right there, but
I'm fine. That's interesting. I've heard her on NPR before on WFY, but that's interesting the way she puts that.
All right, Jacob, your turn.
I just want to slip in one thing. I'm kind of on the whole taxes issue. I'm kind of in between Kevin and Lucy on this one because I don't believe that all taxation is theft because I'm not a libertarian. I do believe we have to have taxation to an extent in society because we got to, have things that are functioning. But I do believe we're overtaxed. So I think that there should be a lot of tax, especially those hidden taxes that Lucy's talking about, like gas tax, sin tax. A lot of those need to be either done away with or reformed in some way. We're a little bit overtaxed, but we still have to have some taxes to have a functioning society. But I guess my question for you is then, Kevin, is generally, what do we do about this whole echo chamber concept that's kind of taking hold? And what I mean by that is, like, when I go on Facebook and I go into different political groups, people only want to have liberal groups or conservative groups. There's no sense of dialogue. And of course, you go on the media and there's no sense of dialogue there. No real dialogue on Fox or CNN. If they have a conservative on CNN or a liberal on Fox, usually just so the host and another guest can beat up on them. How do we get out of this echo chamber mentality and actually have an honest debate about things so we can all kind of come together for the better of our country?
Again, it all comes down to each of us individually being willing to say, we don't have all the answers. We're not God's gift to humanity. We have a piece of it. And then be in whatever those discussions are, whatever the format is, being willing to not just speak, which again, most people, if they're almost like waiting just to spout out and to attack what's been said, as opposed to really hearing what's been said and then sharing, well, here's my perspective on it. I think I mentioned to you, John, one time, no, it was someone else. A neat show would be to get 3 diehard liberals, 3 diehard conservatives, have 6 subjects that they're going to discuss, and they can only get their way on 3 of the 6 subjects. So you have to be willing on 3 of those subjects, whether it's abortion, taxes, whatever it is. You have to realize out of those 6, only 3 of them are you going to get your way. So
I think in that Hollywood Squares, I think didn't they have that show already once before? It's like or some other show
where you have to realize that. I mean, our Congress is that way. There is no, like right now between Biden and Congress, there is no those discussions are not discussions. We know that. No one's going there with the idea. Here's what I want. What do you want? All right, how can we make this work?
Yeah,
it's
and that,
the individual.
I think it is. That's what we're trying to do here with a civil, discussion and a minty fresh take on politics. It's easy to say. The application we're finding is very difficult, and that's why we try to do things like conspiracy theory and peeps on the street to keep it light. I mean, last week's topic was abortion. I was like, but we were able to have a good discussion with that, and people were civil and nobody threw anything at each other. So I just think we just got to keep, pounding on the rock until we get through there. So Kevin, with that said, you got a little more than 5 minutes, but if anyone else would like to have a spot 5 minutes from the liberal side or the left side, hey, hit us up. We will do it. And so I want to thank you, Kevin, for coming on. I appreciate it. And I think I would like to have you on again sometime. So look forward to seeing that. So we're going to go ahead and go to Peeps on the Streets now. You're gonna love this. This is great. And then we're going to come on with our guest, Christopher Adams. So let's go ahead and watch the Peeps on the Streets, and we'll be right back with Christopher. I'll do a short interview, and then the panel will come on, and we're going to talk about this here, cryptocurrency. Hi, this is John Schmitz for Peeps on the Streets for the Mouthwash Talk Show. I'm down here at Dawson's-on-Main in lovely Speedway, Indiana, and we're asking questions about cryptocurrency today. Well, let's just see what the folks have to say. All right, I'm here with the Peeps on the Streets, and this gentleman drove by here with a carpet-covered van that said Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey on the side, and I couldn't help but to get him over here. So tell me about this peanut butter whiskey.
It is Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Don't be fooled by the imitators because they're out there now. We're only 3 years old. Started with a mom and pop. He used to own a bar that I bartended at, and we've extended it to all 50 states. We have won 3 golds back to back for best tasting flavored whiskey. And we're the fastest growing liquor brand in America right now, which is pretty crazy for 4M bartenders and mom and pop.
For Screwball. Now, where are you based out of?
We're out of San Diego.
San Diego? Did you drive all the way here from San Diego?
I drove from Atlanta, but I got the car from San Diego to Florida in February. So
okay, well, if you drive back by here, I got to get a picture. I think I know where you parked. I'm going to go get a picture.
It's a beautiful van, though.
It's
awesome.
Absolutely. It's got a cow sort of horn to it. It's awesome.
It's a black sheep, basically, so it's going by.
Okay,
it's basically our version of the Dumb and Dumber mobile.
It went by a couple times here, didn't it?
Yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
So we do have 3 questions about cryptocurrency. You're not getting out of that. So
okay.
The first question is not about crypto, but it's about the U.S. dollar. On a scale to 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, what confidence do you have in the U.S. dollar?
4.9.
Okay, do you own any cryptocurrency?
I do not.
Do you think the cryptocurrency market's going to crash and burn?
No.
Okay, thank you very much. You've heard it
from a dummy who doesn't know much about cryptocurrency. But
hey, I'm editing that part, so he's going to look like a genius.
Okay, fantastic. What's your name?
Thanks a lot, John Schmitz. How much faith, from a scale of 1 to 5, do you have in the U.S. dollar?
From 1 to 5?
Mm-hmm. 5 being the highest. 5 being the highest faith.
I'd say 1.
A 1, okay. Do you own any cryptocurrency?
Do not.
Do you think the cryptocurrency market will crash and burn?
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 5, how much faith do you have in the U.S. dollar?
3.
3.
Good answer.
Do you own any cryptocurrency?
No.
Do you think the cryptocurrency market will crash and burn?
That depends on what happens, honestly. If you give me a scale of 1 to 5, maybe 4.
A 4. On a scale of 1 to 5, how much faith do you have in the U.S. dollar?
Maybe 0.5.
0.5. Do you own any cryptocurrency?
I don't.
Do you think the cryptocurrency will crash and burn?
I don't. I don't understand it, but the more I'm hearing about it, the more I'm learning about it, people I trust and respect are gaining faith in cryptocurrency.
On a scale of 1 to 5, how much faith do you have in the U.S. dollar?
3.
Do you own any cryptocurrency?
No.
Do you think the cryptocurrency market will crash and burn?
No, I have a little faith in it.
All right. How much faith, from a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, do you have in the U.S. dollar?
I'll say 4.
A 4. Do you own any cryptocurrency?
Not that I know of.
Do you think the cryptocurrency market will crash and burn?
Yes.
I'm here with somebody who's actually with the town of Speedway, and what do you do for them?
I'm the economic development director.
Economic developer, and I'm here on Main Street in Dawson's, promoting economics for Speedway.
Yeah.
I just got 3 questions for you today about cryptocurrency,
Great.
but the first one's actually about the U.S. dollar. On a scale of 1 to 5, how much faith do you have in the U.S. dollar?
It hasn't let me down yet, so I'll go with a 5.
A 5? You might be my first 5. Do you own any cryptocurrency?
I do not.
Do you think that cryptocurrency will crash and burn?
I think like any form of investment, it has ups and downs. It's basically like playing the stock market in a different way. So I don't know about crash and burn. I know it's on a dip right now, so I'd be in the middle of the road on that one. It's not my kind of investment, but I know a lot of people are interested in it.
One more question. I said there was only 3, but there's one
fine.
more. Now, does any of the businesses on the Speedway Mile here take cryptocurrency? Do you know of?
Not that I know of, but I wouldn't be shocked if 1 or 2 of them did.
Well, that does it for another edition of Peeps on the Streets from the racing capital of the world, Speedway, Indiana. Thanks for watching. And welcome to the show, Christopher. And we're going to keep this short and get the panel on here because our 5 minutes with the Liberal went a little bit long. Okay. But anyone having questions, go ahead and ask that in the chat. Christopher has put his links in the Facebook Live, I believe. Hopefully he put those in there for his shows. He has a podcast. So, hey, Christopher, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience with crypto and why you're our expert tonight.
Sure. So, actually, it's kind of cool that guy was from San Diego. I moved out to San Diego a few years ago and worked on a crypto startup company and was the co-founder of that. That didn't end up going very well due to a business partner screwing me over. But that was kind of my first introduction into the cryptocurrency space. I've moved back here to Indianapolis, Indiana, and am a full-time crypto trader and investor. Have been doing that very actively for the last year or so. As you said, I also have a podcast. I'm very integrated into the crypto space, and it's everything I love, and it's my passion.
It does seem that, and I do appreciate you reaching out because we were trying to find an expert on this. And as you can see from the peeps on the streets, a lot of people really don't know what this is. And I'm going to take a moment here to read off. We do an online poll on People Over Politics. It's a group we have. You have to join it. You have to ask to join, but you can participate in these polls.
Sure.
The first poll was on a scale of 1 to 5, how much faith you have in the U.S. dollar. Our top vote getter was 10 people at 2, 7 at 3, 6 at 1. Then we had 3 at 5 and 1 at 4, and apparently no one, that's about what we had there. So do you own cryptocurrency? And apparently people on Facebook are more apt to own it than not, because it was 21 to 33 on that one, and one person never heard of it. And then will crypto crash and burn? 10 yes, 8 no, 4 I'm not sure. And I think I was one of the 4 I'm not sure. So tell us about, just give us a little bit of background on cryptocurrency. Then I want to get the panel on here and start asking some questions. And then those that have questions on the feed here, I'm going to put those up too.
Sure. So I find the people that said 5 very interesting. We're hyperinflating the U.S. dollar right now to a scale that we've never seen before. 20% of all dollars ever minted since the Fed was created were minted last year, and Biden and the Fed are not slowing down. We're actually entering into very, very scary hyperinflation rates right now. So anyone that says 5, I don't think they're doing their due diligence on how much money the Fed's printing right now. So that's kind of that answer to that side. And then the cryptocurrency, most of the cryptocurrencies that were created, Bitcoin specifically, was created as a hedge against inflation. It has 21 million coins. Once the 21 millionth coin is mined in 2150, there will never be any more. It's hard written into the code. And so when you look at an asset that has now, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars dumped into it, the more money that is dumped into it, the higher the price will go. Unlike the dollar, where we're literally stealing from the U.S. people. Hyperinflation is theft on a very large scale. People have hundreds of thousands of dollars that they've worked their life away for that the Fed is stealing. Cryptocurrency is a hedge against that. So that's the most basic understanding. You said do it quick. That's the most basic way I can explain it.
Okay, I'm going to have one more question just for me. I usually try to stay a little bit neutral in this. So what backs this up? I mean, basically the dollar used to be backed up with actual gold and silver and these type of things, and it's basically a faith-based currency at this point. But my theory is until something's better than the dollar, it's still the dollar's king. The U.S. dollar's king. China and Russia tried to do a little grab back in the late 2000s and start their own currency. That didn't really work out. We still buy oil with the U.S. dollar standard and those type of things.
That's the only thing back
there you go. There's a couple questions in there, and then we're going to bring the panel up.
So what backs it up is there's the technology called the blockchain, which is a global distributed ledger that everyone in the entire world can constantly check and constantly verify. So it's that technology plus the rarity. The blockchain technology to date is one of the most secure technologies ever created. And the Janet Yellen, our current secretary, who's an idiot, if I will, said that it's extremely hard to track cryptocurrency, and it could not be further from the truth. Once a cryptocurrency transaction goes through, it's immutable, which means unchangeable. So that's it's built on top of world-changing technology, and then you pair in with the rarity. That's kind of where it derives its value. So it's a really revolutionary money 2.0 system.
Well, I think I have a bunch more questions, but I'm going to go ahead and bring on the panel. And I think this is just a lot of people are interested in what the heck this is and all that. So let's get this rearranged here. I'll bring on Ed, Lucy, and Jacob. And look at that. I did all right there. So we're going to start. We started with Ed on the first go around. We're going to start with Lucy in the middle because I know she's chomping at the bit as usual on this. She's, libertarian viewpoint on a lot of things that are very interesting. So go ahead, Lucy.
All I've got to say is, arr, I'm a pirate. I'm a fan of the pirate chain. And don't know if you're familiar with that one or not. I've been following Jeff Berwick at Dollar Vigilante. So the reason that I'm passionate about pirate chain as crypto is specifically because Bitcoin is what took down Ross Ulbricht and the Silk Road. And actually, can't remember the lady's name, but she's on Kate Ferris. She's on Tim Ferriss. Her name is Kate. And she actually used the Bitcoin blockchain to track down 2 rogue FBI agents that were, that were harassing Ross. So my question for you is utility. I did not understand utility. I certainly understood fungibility, but not utility. until last November when I understood, oh, wait, if I need something done on the computer that I can't get done, the best guy that I want to hire might be in Pakistan. How do I pay that person? And then I realized that crypto is a great solution, much better than going to Walmart and trying to do like a Western Union, right? So now I understand utility. My question for you is, at what point do you think that utility is going to come for transactions such as I'm selling plants out of my front yard? Can somebody give me $5 in Pirate Chain? And is that cool? Can that happen?
That's happening right now, actually. Cryptocurrency 1.0 was Bitcoin. It is the best store of value ever created. It's a hedge against inflation. Cryptocurrency 2.0 is what has launched and is currently launching. And a lot of those applications are exactly what you're trying to talk about. MobiPay is one specifically that is, how do we get cryptocurrency into the mainstream? How do we allow people to buy groceries with cryptocurrency? How do we allow people to pay each other with cryptocurrency? And it's happening right now.
Cool. That's what I was looking for, is utility. Now I'm all on board. So if you don't know about Pirate Chain, go watch Lucy's Walks and Talks with Jeff at dollarvigilante.tv.
I just looked it up on CoinGecko. I'm going to do some research on it after the show.
It's privacy by default, and it has better privacy than Monero. It's pretty darn cool. Thank you.
Very cool. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we're going to go with Ed next. So Ed, go, and Jacob, you're last again. I'm sorry. I don't want to show favoritism towards a conservative and get in trouble. So go ahead, Ed. Ask away.
Hi, Ed.
Hey, Christopher. My background is in construction and doing a lot of work with housing. And one of the things that really interests me in learning about the blockchain, even when you're talking about like titles on houses and how the blockchain, when I hear that, like that, you have no idea, like just trying to change titles on a house is remarkably messy considering how long we've been doing it. But the question I have is, you have so many big interests involved. And so is there a point where, I mean, how do you see the future battle weighing out there? Because you have some mega companies that are not going to be too wild about this as well.
So I see it as either they hop on board or they get obliterated by competition. That's kind of what happened with the internet. People that thought it was a fad, and people that refused to adopt it into their businesses, and people that refused to get onto computers, when their competition got on and started using all these different smart technologies, they just got obliterated in competition. And what the blockchain, smart contracts, and cryptocurrency, those three core components, it's going to be bigger than the internet. We're literally witnessing an entire revolution of new technology. So my answer longly is if they don't get on board, they're just going to lose.
And if you don't mind me following up with that, of course, do you see a timeline? How long do you think this is before it,
So there's a cryptocurrency that I've been following and investing in. It's called Labs. You can do some research on it. It's a cryptocurrency company that's specifically focusing on making real estate liquid again, and basically making it so that you can buy into companies and buy into real estate portions and get your portion out whenever you want. They're revolutionizing the real estate game. DocuSign is now, which I was a real estate agent, so I have some background in that as well. DocuSign's now on the blockchain. You're already seeing it happen. Timeline wise, I'd be surprised if there were not a lot of companies on board and using this technology by 2025.
Okay. That's a good answer. I'm just sort of numb here trying to take this in because these are questions. You guys are way ahead of me on questions. You lost me at Bitcoin. So, hey, Jacob, before we get to that, I want Adam asked a question of this. What's your assessment of Ripple? Are we talking about Rocky Ripple, the wine, or what? What are we talking about here?
I think XRP has a lot of potential. My biggest issue with XRP is during the bear market years, they continuously dumped on their holders and continuously sold some of their supply. That's bad business practice to me. And they're continuously getting a lot of negative press because of the lawsuits that they're doing. if they accomplish some of their goals, they will be one of the top and will continue to stay in the top 10 and top potentially 5 again in the cryptocurrency space. I have mixed feelings about XRP.
Okay, one question for me. How many actual cryptocurrencies, I guess legit, if you could use that word, how many options are there in this industry at this point? Does it just grow daily or?
Yeah, so I'm looking at CoinGecko right now. The total market cap of the entire crypto space is 1.7 trillion, and there are a total of 7,519 cryptocurrencies registered on CoinGecko. Now, out of those 7,519, I would say probably this is a guess, but out of all the time that I've spent in this space, I'd probably say a solid 500 to 600 of those are super solid projects that are trying to do something that have real use case, that have a real plan.
Wow. Okay, Jacob, it's your turn. Thank you for patiently waiting.
Yes. Well, I guess my question is how can we say that cryptocurrency is a store of value when it really has only been in existence for 10 years? In my opinion, I'm looking at anything to invest in. I'm looking at a long-term track record. And for me, even the stock market to an extent does not have as long-term of a track record as I would like. In reality, the American stock market has really only been in its current form for a little over 100 years. I think that personally, I agree that the U.S. dollar is on its last leg. I would say, pursuant to the conversation that John had with the peeps on the streets, I would say it's a 5. You know, I have zero confidence in the U.S. dollar, but I think the gold and silver is really what backs what should be real currency. There was an old quote from J.P. Morgan where he says, "Gold and silver is money. You know, everything else is just credit." So I would say that cryptocurrency, it doesn't have anything tangible backing it up. I don't really believe in the security of the blockchain. It hasn't had a long enough track record. Once again, how do we really know nobody's going to figure out a way to hack into it? But if somebody holds physical gold or silver, I don't see a way that anybody can hack that unless, say, somebody has it in their house or has it in a bank and somebody steals it. So tell me why crypto is so much better than gold and silver that both have a 6,000 year minimum track record.
So you asked several things there, so I'm going to try and touch on all of those. Mark Cuban and there was an amazing panel that had Mark Cuban, several other billionaires on it, and they're all talking about how gold is on its way out. Gold has such a high resource and energy usage. Like people have died, lost their lives protecting it. It's extremely hard to transport on a global scale. It does not translate very well. It's hard to sell in large quantities. Gold in this new era that we are in is not a monetary system that can be transported across the world in seconds. Bitcoin and the tech, I don't know how much research you've done on blockchain, but to say that you don't trust it already without doing zero research on it, to me is a little naive. I would recommend doing some research before saying you don't trust in the blockchain. The blockchain technology is, to this date, one of the best, if not the best technologies ever created.
Based on what?
The technology.
Based on what? But you're just telling me it's the best technology since sliced bread. Why is it so good? Give me a reason. Like, why is it proven to be so unhackable? You know, if it's only been in existence for 9 years. And I have done research in cryptocurrencies, and I have considered dabbling in them, and I've decided not to because I don't think it's a safe place to put my money.
So the reason the blockchain technology is so safe is it's a distributed ledger that an entire ecosystem of computers are constantly verifying and constantly checking. And once a transaction goes through on a blockchain, it's immutable and unchangeable. And it's always there for you to be able to check and verify. So that's the simplest way to explain a blockchain, and cryptocurrencies are built on top of blockchains. So when you're looking at safety and security and you're looking at, okay, how can I track this transaction? How can I track what's happening in these ecosystems? It provides a perfect way to do so.
Okay, who created this blockchain and who was the original arbiter of it? Because
Bitcoin.
You're saying anybody can get access to it. How do we know that? I'm not trying to be conspiracy theory. I'm not going to get into that until the conspiracy theory segment. But how do we know that J.P. Morgan Chase or some big bank was not behind creating this? Who was the original arbiter of it, and who was the one that put it out there? I don't necessarily. This cryptocurrency just kind of seemed like it came out of thin air. It's only been in existence for 9-10 years. Where did it come from? Who created this?
So Satoshi Nakamoto created
and who is he? Why should I trust him?
He's an anonymous developer, and the reason that you trust him is the reason you trust him is because it's completely decentralized. There is no central authority. There is no one organization that has control over it. It is completely and totally decentralized. That it doesn't have, there's not one person that can log in and control it. The ecosystem, we the people control it. That is why he created it. When Bitcoin was launched, you got to think back to 2008 when it was launched, right? We were entering into the largest recession we've ever seen since the Great Depression, right? We were giving out massive amounts of money. He created this decentralized blockchain that was going to change the world, and that's it. Who do we trust? How do we know to trust this guy? You don't have to. It's a decentralized system.
Well, and when he created it, we don't exactly know specifically how he created it when he was doing it.
It's all there.
The thing is why can't he just come in and take it down? When I create a Facebook group, when I create anything on the internet, I can come in there and take it down.
That's centralized. It's because it's centralized. This is decentralized.
Once again, I'm just not going to trust my money with the technology that some anonymous guy that we don't even know who he is, just created this. And the thing is, what you're saying about gold has plenty of usage. Gold has industrial usage. Gold has jewelry usage. Gold has had use for 6,000 years. And all of a sudden now, because our generation thinks that crypto is the new thing, all of a sudden we know better than 6,000 years of history. All of a sudden gold is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Well, last time I checked, gold was just going up and crypto was going down because people are beginning to realize that this is a scam.
Gold hasn't averaged 200% a year.
Assets, not in some created thing that's 10 years old, made by an anonymous guy. We have no idea who he is.
It's 12, and Bitcoin has averaged at over 200% per year consistently every single
10-year track record, not 6,000.
12.
Okay, I got something here that I want to ask. One of the things I have heard is that on the blockchain you can be tracked, and some people were complaining about that, about being tracked from every transaction. I don't know. Is that true? Can you give us some background on that? Because I'm still confused with that.
Hey, Lucy, I think that
yeah, Lucy, can you mute?
Oh, I'm getting feedback. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, so every single transaction that happens on blockchains can be tracked, and a lot of this, the wallets that it happens in, they're anonymous. Like I have a bunch of different wallets, and they have a series of letters and numbers that are attached to them. It doesn't say Christopher, this is Christopher's wallet. It says this is 0xBX whatever, right? So it will still show every single transaction that has happened with that wallet. And one thing that the federal government is trying to do is trying to make it to where you have to assign an identity to a wallet, which is completely absurd.
Well, and then a follow up on that is, so if people wanted to, do illegal activities, is this a currency that could be used for that? That's where maybe this basis of questioning I had earlier was.
I think anyone that's doing illicit activities with this is stupid, because the easiest way to do illicit activities is cash. There is zero trace. There is zero way for the federal government to come after you. There is zero way for anything. Sending anything on the blockchain, there is always a record, and you can never change that record. It's immutable. So doing illicit activities on this, in fact, there was actually some law enforcement that were on some podcasts. They're like, we hope people use cryptocurrency, because now we at least have a record. With cash, they have nothing. It's poof.
Yeah, and that's very, very good. So how long have you been invested? I mean, did you buy some of this stuff when it was like 3 cents? That's really expensive now. I think Bitcoin is like $30,000 or something like that. Do you have any of those stories about how you bought it really low and got up there and think, everybody wishes they bought more, as long as it's going up, right?
Yeah, I've been very heavily invested in Chainlink. Chainlink, in my personal opinion, is one of the most will be one of the best cryptocurrencies in the world long term. It connects every single blockchain in the world together. It connects all those blockchains to data on off-chain sources. It's going to be extremely well used. Citibank, one of the largest investment banks in the world, actually made an article about how it's going to flip the Bitcoin market cap no later than the end of the decade. So I got in pretty early on that one. I got in at $6. It had a recent all-time high at $53. At that point, I was up a few hundred grand. That we had a recent, very, very recent big market crash and are on the rebound. So once we get back up there, I'll be sitting on nice profits from those as well.
Yeah, it's never a loss till you sell it, right? Is that
exactly
sort of what they say?
I would just, can you guys hear me this time? I don't
yeah,
want to
that's good.
I just like to point out that one man's illegal is another person's freedom. And so I don't like to use words like legal and illegal because that's a construct that's put upon us by people that want to control us. And so anybody that's fascinated about the idea that Bitcoin is trackable and how it can be used by law enforcement should go look up Tim Ferriss and his podcast where he interviewed this federal prosecutor named Kate, who used this to track down 2 rogue members of the FBI. What is horrifying to me as a libertarian is that we already have civil asset forfeiture laws. And if every Bitcoin can be tracked, then every Bitcoin that I buy or even a portion of one in my wallet may have at some time been involved in a dirty transaction, which can then be used as leverage or an excuse for the government to then try and seize my Bitcoin. And this is the first year, you probably already know that on our 1040 form, it asked us if we own any crypto. And at the time I did not. So they're making it an instant felony to answer that question in a way that they don't like, which is why I'm encouraging people to buy Pirate Chain and Monero, things that are private by default so that no one can ever know what it is you have unless your OPSEC and your big mouth give yourself away.
I like that.
Well, I better not buy any then.
I don't think you let fear of uncertainties at least stop you from doing some research on this. And Lucy, to your point, I think the best way to protect yourself is decentralized wallets, getting yourself some ledgers. The government doesn't. If you can hide your seed phrases properly, they're not going to be able to find them. They're not going to be able to access your assets.
Asset your assets. Oh, that's
well, I think that I'd like to push back on that a little bit because I think Satoshi originally wanted this to be anonymous, and I think that is the promise that is fulfilled in Pirate Chain or maybe even Monero or other privacy coins. And it's the fact that as humans we're pretty predictable. We pretty much go to work at the same time. We're signing to the same websites all the time. It's not a great leap to think about RFID trackers, things that we might purchase being held to a certain time and place that could be then correlated to a certain transaction. Fair. So I don't want any of us to be lackadaisical or to have a false sense of security because this is all about theft. It's all about the taking of my life and your life and time for the benefit of some lazy politicians, and I'm going to try not to cuss. So just think about your OPSEC. I'm super interested in anything that you have to say about, off-chain wallets or hard wallets or any of that kind of thing that we can use to protect ourselves, because it's clear you've got to have a multiple of these in order to protect yourself. I love gold. I love silver, but it's pretty easily confiscatable across lines. If you've got your Bitcoin in your brain, I mean, the only way to take it out is if somebody blows your brains out, and then it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah,
I think Burl Ives likes silver and gold too on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Jacob, do you have a final question for our guest?
I mean, nothing that I really have prepared in particular. But I mean, just my comment is I'm not against people speculating on Bitcoin. I think that people can certainly make some, and any other cryptocurrency for that matter, they can certainly make some short-term returns. But I am not of this belief that it somehow is a store of value and a hedge against inflation. I mean, it just does not have a long enough of a track record, in my opinion. And this idea that gold and silver are somehow on its way out is just completely absurd. And it just shows an arrogance of a younger generation to history. And I'm a student of history, and gold and silver have always been valuable, have seen us through many different crises. Now, I own neither. I do not own crypto. I don't own gold and silver. I'm a poor college student. But I would encourage anybody that really wants to retain their wealth that you go with something that's tried and true, not with something that has a very short track record. And I would say the same thing even with the stock market. I'm not sitting here hawking stocks either. I think stocks are just as much gambling as cryptocurrencies are. You need to have something real if you want to invest, in my opinion.
And that's what I like about this show. We have people all the way across the board. And Christopher, I know you were getting ready to say something about that. I'm going to let Ed ask one final question, and you're a pretty sharp guy. You can mold that into one answer. I'm sure.
Well, to keep them both short and sweet. First of all, I like I said before, I see the value in it being in housing, and I could see that tangible stuff linked to Bitcoin. But the other part of it I want to ask, out of those 7,000 different coins that you talked about, how many of are those all decentralized, or are there still some that are centralized? I thought that there was a mix.
So there are, but all the ones that are centralized that I have discovered have all failed. Greed at some level, someone in the organization, someone in control that has some sort of control or keys to those protocols end up stealing, doing stupid stuff, right? And that's why all the successful ones are decentralized and remove control away from us as humans, and give the control back to the people. That's the simplest way to put it.
All right. Well,
John,
I'll tell you what, Christopher.
Could I just answer one question I saw in the comments? Adam said something about stocks being real. I just wanted to just clarify my opinion. I certainly do. I acknowledge the fact that with stocks, you're buying a piece of a company. That's 100% true. And I have, owned stocks in the past. The thing what I was talking about is that stocks are manipulated. The price of stocks are manipulated. I'm not saying that you don't really own a share in a company like an AT&T, Apple, whatever. You do, but I'm just saying the price of it is very volatile because you have people on Wall Street that manipulate the price. Thus, it's not a hard asset. That's what I mean by it not being real, like real estate or gold would be.
Do you mind, John, if I in this?
No, you can't. Go right ahead. You're the guest. You have the floor.
So to Jacob, to your point, I'm not saying that gold necessarily are, there's no way to store value in them. That they definitely are, very valuable in older society. I think just in the way that we're moving for the future, this new era we're entering in, where technology is developing and expanding so fast, you cannot have gold and silver be the main store of value for our societies any longer. You have to have something that we as the people do and agree that this is our currency. And that's why cryptocurrency is a revolution in every essence of the word, because it's we, the people, agreeing that this is the currency we will use. We're tired of central banks controlling the world. We're tired of these banks stealing from us. We're tired of these banks declaring, bribing people through lobbies to say, oh, hey, let's go to war. This is we, the people, using this as our currency, and it's de-inflationary. So that's kind of where I would challenge you a little bit, is look into how this is a revolution and how this is a store of value.
Yes, I definitely think that there's a lot more to be discussed about this and a lot more to come. And Christopher, you said you were going to stick around for the conspiracy theory. So I'm going to go ahead and kick off the trailer for that, so you could get your conspiracy theory hats on. And after this little brief snippet. Hey, y'all, it's time for the conspiracy theory, so you better get your tinfoil hat out, and let's see what's going on this week. Okay, let's see. I got to get everybody back in their right spots here. OMG, everybody's all messed up. Okay, yeah, a little OCD there for ACDC for me. I don't know what radio station to listen to. All right, so we're ready for the fun parts of the thing. And Ed, what in the world is that from the auto accident that you have on there?
No, my wife used my foil hat to bake something, and smells great.
I bought my wife a new colander so I could keep this one. So, and Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is still shiny, and the Swami Jacob. So who wants to volunteer to go first this evening? Jacob, Jacob's going to go. Jacob, okay.
Well, I'm going to be Lucy for the night, and I'm going to do a conspiracy fact. And my conspiracy fact is I believe inevitably that there will be a day when the so-called crypto whales, like the people that own a lot of Bitcoin, are inevitably going to dump all of that on the market and ruin all the people that have invested in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies by driving the price way down, because most people, as in stock market corrections, will sell at the wrong time and will really lose their behind on that. So that's my segment. So beware of the crypto whales.
All right. Well, since Lucy does a conspiracy fact, Ed, you're up.
All right. Well, keeping with crypto, I've been doing a lot of research or, watching a lot of videos on this, and I keep hearing everybody saying, okay, the price went down. Just hold on. It's going to bounce back up again. I'm still kind of skeptical of a lot of these, like Jacob. And so as my crypto, I guess, conspiracy, I am just waiting for the day that tulips come back. I'm investing in tulips. That's where my money's going.
Yeah, you're going to be a florist. Is that what I'm hearing there? So, all right, Christopher, let's. I'm gonna let Lucy go second to last because I'm going last tonight because I got a humdinger.
I can't wait to your humdinger.
Yeah,
I didn't know we were supposed to prepare a crypto theory. I thought we were all just going to talk about cool.
Now we know that you weren't prepared, sir. You could have made something up. Mine is totally made up, but I don't. So
but
go ahead.
Can I use my space to kind of comment on Jacob's? Can I do that?
Oh yeah. I like this. This is usually we you're starting to sound like you're coming from the left because Jacob does a very good job.
I'm a libertarian.
So he does a very good job supporting his positions.
I actually think the Bitcoin whales dumping is actually very good for the long-term health of the cryptocurrency market because that's one of the biggest flaws, if not one of the only flaws of cryptocurrency, is the whales that control a majority of the supply. It makes it more centralized than it should be. So when you see whales selling massive amounts of it, if the people are panic selling, that's unfortunate that it happens, but it actually makes it more decentralized. So it would actually be more beneficial for the long-term health of cryptocurrency for whales to sell.
Leaves you to wonder who these whales are too, since we supposedly don't know who they are. Wonder if they could be J.P. Morgan Chase, just out of curiosity. Not saying it's a fact, but I'm throwing that out there.
They're buying massive amounts of it right now. All the banks have announced.
Well, I want to find out who these whales are so I can borrow a couple fins from them. So, hey, Lucy, go ahead. You're next.
Well, I think Christopher just actually confirmed my conspiracy fact, which is that big whales are coming in for the benefit of their buddies in the banking system who thought about Bitcoin too late. And so the market has been suppressed. The prices are down in order to let those big banks and their wealthy clients, those top 1%ers, go ahead and get in while the pricing is good. So, man, I think Bitcoin's $100,000 by the end of the year. And that's going to be because the utility is there, the fungibility is there, and people are going to start understanding how to use it. And I will say this, it's now the third time that China has been blamed. Oh, China's banning Bitcoin, China's banning crypto, and then it's going to go down. Man, that canard has worked 3 times now. Don't fall for it next time.
14, actually. They've done
14?
They've done it 14 times. And they're actually some of the largest holders of cryptocurrency. Yeah. They've actually increased their mining rates. They have entire hydroelectric dams powering Bitcoin mining, like cities literally dedicated to it.
Yeah, the leverage will be there. People don't understand that last one, as you said, is going to be mined in 2150. Yep. It's a limited supply. Each of these could be worth, $10 million, $20 million, especially as the bigger players get in. And people just don't know. And I didn't know till after I read about Pirate Chain, but now I know. Now you know too.
Wow, that is great. I don't want to, brag or anything, but my conspiracy theory tonight actually has some pictures. So, and Christopher, this is well before you were born, and Jacob, and Lucy, you were probably around. But this actually, this Bitcoin and these cryptocurrencies actually came from a movie in the early 70s. And this movie, a lot of people have seen it. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and put up a picture here. It's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's Oompa Loompas that are really mining this stuff. And so if you have ever owned any of these chocolate coins, those are actually Bitcoins. Now, why has Bitcoin become so popular these days? Well, when I was doing a little research on this, finding my pictures for Oompa Loompa, I don't know if you remember our last president, but a lot of people said, hey, I think Trump is an Oompa Loompa because he's orange. So, and you see how crypto's really taken off since 2016. So there is definitely a correlation between crypto, Oompa Loompas, and Trump. Boom! There you go. That's my conspiracy. I'm sticking to it. So, hey, everyone, this has been a very interesting show. I would love to tell you I know everything about crypto, but that's what's going to keep me learning more. We thank our guests, Christopher and Kevin, for coming on to 5 Minutes with a Liberal, and love to see Ed back after his horrific car crash last week. And it seems he's got all his limbs and everything and a new green screen. So stay tuned next week. Let me throw this up here real quick. We have this show coming. It's called Conservation Officers, and this is comic strip artist Gary Varble and Micah Beckwith coming on, and we're going to dive deep into what it means to be a conservative. But don't think that the liberals won't have a chance, because we're working with Dana Black of the Democrat Party of Indiana. That is Ed's working on getting that for us, and I think we can get a liberal. Oh, sorry about my antenna. I got all excited there. Okay, we're gonna have a counterpoint, a point and a counterpoint there. So, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you again next week at 9 Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Mouthwash Show. Like our page, follow us, so you don't miss any minutes of this wonderful show. Over and out.